Assalamu alaikum students. We were discussing the general aspects of circulatory system in the previous lectures, and today I am also going to discuss with you very important part of the circulatory system, that is the portal system. What is a portal system? So by definition, portal system is one in which there is the arrangement of the vessels whereby the blood is collected from one set of the capillaries and then it passes through a larger vessel and then again it passes through another set of the blood capillaries before it is going to return into the venous circulation and then enters into the systemic circulation. So, very simplifying it, that there are two sets of blood capillaries through which the blood has to pass through before it enters or returns into its systemic circulation. So here you can see this is one large joining or intercommunicating vessel between these two sets of the blood capillaries. This is known as the portal vessel. So actually this is the portal vessel which is communicating these two sets. It is collecting the blood from one set of capillary and then transporting it to the another set of the capillary, and then blood is returning to the systemic circulation. So you can see usually in the systemic circulation there is only one set of blood capillary, that the arterioles. These are splitting into the blood capillaries, then they join together and converge and form the veins. But whenever there is a portal system is present, there will be two sets of blood capillary through which blood has to pass through. So in the human body there are two types of the portal systems are present. So you can see that I have told you that the larger vessel which is intercommunicating between the first set of capillary and then second set of capillary, if this vessel is a vein, then we label it the venous portal system. So the examples in human body for this venous portal system is the hepatic portal system and hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system, which is present in the pituitary gland. And the one where we see that the portal vessel which is joining these two sets, which is the intermediate vessel between these two sets of the blood capillary, if this is an artery, then we label that this is the arterial portal system. So the only example in the human body for this arterial portal system is this is present in the kidneys, in which there is one set, that is the glomerular blood capillaries, and from here the efferent arterioles are going to join up another set of the capillaries which are surrounding the renal tubules, and then blood is through renal vein enters into the systemic circulation. So this is this portal vessel. If this is artery, then we label that this is the arterial portal system, and if this portal vessel is vein, then we classify the portal system. So here this one, that is the hepatic portal system, and as I have told you that this is one of the type which is the venous portal system, that is it is the example of venous portal system in the human body. In this case, the venous blood is transported to the one set of the capillary bed, and then this is going to join into the another set of the capillary bed. So here this is the portal vein, that is the larger portal vein. Here you can see it is collecting the venous blood, that is from the veins and the set of capillaries which are present around the intestinal wall. So from the stomach and then from the small and large intestine, whole of this venous blood that is transporting the blood which is full of nutrition, and then this is collected from this set of the capillaries and passes through this portal vein, and then this is going to enter into the liver, and here it is again going to divide up into another set of the capillaries, which is the hepatic sinusoids, and from here through the hepatic veins the blood is transported into the inferior vena cava ultimately. So the one set is present around the walls of the gastrointestinal tract, and then through the portal vein this is transporting it into the liver, where there is another second set of the capillary, that is the hepatic sinusoids, and then it enters into the circulation. So this is another type of the hepatic portal system, and you can see here that this is a vein which is collecting this blood from one capillary bed and then transporting to another capillary bed. So this is the venous portal system in the human body. Another example of the venous portal system in human body is that hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system, which is present in between the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. So there is the superior and inferior hypophyseal arteries. These are going to form the capillary network into that infundibulum, and then through the portal vein, this is that long portal vein, and from the infundibulum that is going to enter into the anterior pituitary, where it is going to form and break up into another second set of the capillaries, which are the sinusoids. Here you can see in the anterior pituitary, and from here they are transporting all the hormones which are the releasing hormones from the hypothalamus. These are transported towards this anterior pituitary, and then this is also releasing certain regulatory hormones which have the effects on other endocrine glands in human body. So this is another one type of venous portal system, in which this is portal vein. Between these two sets of blood capillaries again venous. So this is example of venous portal system. So one set of the blood capillary is present around the infundibulum, and then it is the second set is present on the anterior pituitary. You can also see here that these one are the superior hypophyseal and inferior hypophyseal branches, the arteries, which are breaking up into the capillary network around the median eminence of the hypothalamus, as well as in the posterior pituitary. Through this infundibulum there is this large portal vein that is going to join up the another capillary network which is present along the anterior pituitary, and from here the venous blood is entered into the venous circulation. So this is another type of portal system, which is venous type of portal system in the human body. The next one, that is the renal portal system, which is the arterial type of the portal system. As I already told you, that in this case there is this one set of the glomerular capillaries, and then from here it is collected through the efferent arterioles, which act as a portal vessel in this case, and then it is going to ramify into another set of the blood capillaries, which is going to surround here. Like here you can see this one. This is making up here again that along the renal tubules of the nephron, this is ramifying into the another set of the capillaries, and this glomerulus, and again here this is going to ramify into another set of the blood capillaries. This is another nephron. So in this kidney, and you have seen that there is the one set of capillary that is present in this glomerulus, that is the glomerular capillary network, and then through the efferent arteriole. This is the efferent arteriole through which this is going to join up, and it is going to again ramify into the second set of the capillaries, which is forming the capillary network around the renal tubules. And then from here this venous blood is collected, and then this is going to return that blood towards the systemic circulation through the renal vein. Kidney has the renal vein, so this is transporting this venous blood through the renal vein into the inferior vena cava and then into systemic circulation. So here, and I am summing up that in the body there are three types of portal systems which are present. Number one is the hepatic portal system. Number two is the hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system. These two are the example of the venous type of portal system. And number three, we have the renal portal system, which is the example of arterial type of the portal system. And I hope you know why we classify them into the venous and arterial, as the major portal vessel between two sets of the capillaries is if it is vein, then this is venous type of portal system, and if it is artery, then this is artery type of the portal system. Now here you must know that in the circulation there are certain circulatory routes which are present. In cardiovascular system, the circulatory routes which you have identified is, number one is the systemic circulation, which I am saying again and again. What is that systemic circulation? This is the one in which the oxygenated blood is passing through the aorta and then enters and distributed towards the whole body, and then the venous blood and deoxygenated blood having lots of carbon dioxide, this is going to be transported and returned to the heart through the veins present in the body, through inferior and superior and inferior vena cava, and then it enters into the right atrium of the heart. So this is connecting with the heart. This arterial and venous end is going to be connected to the heart ultimately. This is the systemic type of circulation. Then there is the pulmonary circulation, in which through this right ventricle we are transporting the deoxygenated blood towards the lungs through this large pulmonary trunk, which is going to divide into the right and left pulmonary arteries, and then this is enters into the lungs for oxygenation. Then this oxygenated blood is returned through 4 pulmonary veins into the left atrium, two on each side. So this is consisting the pulmonary circulation in the human body. So this type of circulation is pulmonary circulation. Then the circulation which is only and it is entertaining the whole of the heart, having its arterial supply and then venous supply in the heart through its coronary blood vessels. That is known as coronary circulation, which is carrying the deoxygenated blood into the heart and then transporting the oxygenated heart through the coronary vessels to the all parts of the heart. This circulation is making up the coronary circulation. So this is comprising the cardiovascular system, and here you have seen that is having now the closed type of circulation from one vessel. Then there is capillaries. From here there is transportation and exchange of the materials and nutrients from into the tissue, and from the tissue it is absorbing whole of the wastes and carbon dioxides. But there is another type of circulatory route which is present in the human body, showing green one in this picture. This is the lymphatic circulation. This is the another type of the circulatory system in the human body. From here, this is collecting whole of the larger macromolecules, the proteins, the waste materials, antibodies, and etc. from the extracellular tissue fluid. So this is absorbing the components from extracellular tissue fluid, and then this is transporting it through its lymphatic capillaries, lymphatic vessels, and on the way there is this lymph node which is present, which is helping to destroy the whole of the pathogens and destructive components present in the lymph, and then it adding up into the lymphocytes as well. So actually in this circulation, as compared to the blood, it is having the lymph in it, which is collecting the tissue fluid, and then this is transporting it ultimately into the venous circulation. So it has the connection with the venous circulation. So the wastes and that extra materials or the larger components which are not going to be absorbed through the blood capillaries, these are transported through the lymph into the venous circulation as well. And it is also having very important role in the immune system of the body, as there is also the lymph nodes and other lymphoid organs which are helping for the T and B lymphocytes, and helping in the destruction and phagocytosis of the engulfing up of all the waste components. So there is another important system in the human body, that is the lymphatic system. It is also associated with the immune system of the human body. So the lymphatic system consists of, first of all, the lymphatic capillaries which are present at the tissue level, and then these are collecting the components from the tissue fluid which enters and passes through that lymphatic capillaries, and then this is returned into the blood circulation through the fluid which is the lymph present in this lymphatic circulation. Then this is transported through the vessels which are the lymphatic vessels. These lymphatic vessels, they are joined and form some large vessels which are known as the lymphatic ducts. These are the lymphatic ducts which are present. There are certain specialized structures present along the way of the lymph. This is known as the lymph node. So there are certain lymph nodes present, and they are situated along the course of the lymphatic vessels. The lymph node removes the unwanted particulate matter, and they are adding up lymphocytes. The lymph, then it is going to be drained into the venous circulation, and they are entering into the venous blood and then returns to the systemic circulation. There are another organs which are present, which are present as the lymphoid organs in the human body. I will told you these lymphoid organs in the next slide as well. So here you can see that from the lymph capillaries, they are the lymphatic vessels, and through these lymphatic vessels they are going to pass through certain lymph nodes which are present along their course. These are the popliteal lymph nodes. Then there is another set of the lymph nodes which is present in the inguinal region. This is the inguinal lymph nodes. Regional lymph nodes, these are also present. Another set which is very important and you are already aware of them is the axillary lymph nodes. These are present here. In the neck, there are very well defined cervical lymph nodes are present, and all of these are draining up the lymph into the systemic circulation through the lymphatic vessels and lymphatic ducts. So these are making up. So the lymphatic system here, you can see along with that blood capillaries, the lymphatic capillaries are also present there, and they are also going to collect the excess tissue fluid, and also the leaked proteins and larger macromolecules, all the pathogens. These are going to be collected and then transported through the lymphatic vessels, which are also having these lymph nodes in their way, and then return it to the venous circulation here. So the lymph, that is fluid which is present in this lymphatic system, if its course and its flow is disturbed, or there is the blockage of the flow of the lymph through these lymphatic channels, then this is leading to the excess of fluid present in the tissue spaces, which results and known as the edema. So the edema, that is the one condition which is leading to the swelling of that area, and this is because of the accumulation of the fluid in the tissue spaces, and it results if this system is blocked, or if there is any surgical removal of the any part which is going to belong to that lymphatic system, either removal of the lymph nodes or any other etc., then this condition can be happen. So here first of all telling you about the lymphatic channels. So what are the lymphatic capillaries? The lymph capillaries, these are the dilated channels which are having the blind or closed ends. So the ends of the capillaries, you can see here as well, that the lymph capillaries, these are also present along, and they are surrounding the blood capillaries, but these are blind ended, their ends are closed. So we say that this is the blind end capillaries, but these are dilated channel as compared to the blood capillaries. They form the plexus in the tissue spaces, and then these networks are interwoven with the plexus of the blood capillaries. They are most abundant in the innermost surfaces and in the superficial surfaces of the body. For example, in the dermis of the skin, in the mucous membranes of the respiratory, and in the digestive system, they are present more numerous. Here you can see there are certain valves. These are also present here, that these valves, which are the flap-like mini valves, they are going to allow the passage of the excess fluid into the lymph capillaries. But because of the presence of these valves, the fluid which is entered once into the lymph capillaries is not going to leave it. It is not coming back. So this is again helping to allow the unidirectional flow towards the lymph capillaries. The tissue fluid only can enter, it cannot leave or pass out of the lymph capillary once it enters. It picks up the bacteria, the viruses, the proteins, definitely the other macro molecules, electrolytes and fluids which escaped, and they are not going to be passed through the blood vessels, blood capillaries. Then these are collected through the lymph capillaries, and then into the lymph nodes there is another one filter house, one filter area which filters the lymph to destroy the pathogens, and then it is also adding up lymphocytes, I have told you. You must remember, very important, that the lymph capillaries are absent in the bone marrow, in the teeth, and in the central nervous system. These are the areas where the lymph capillaries are absent. These are not present in these certain areas. So this can be a very important MCQ. You must remember that where the lymph capillaries or the where the lymphatic system is absent actually. This is absent in the bone, in bone marrow, teeth and CNS. I am telling you again. So you must remember, please. So there are very important lymph capillaries are present in the gastrointestinal tract, which are known as lacteals. These lacteals are present in the villi of the gastrointestinal tract. So in the GIT, in the small intestine, there are the villi are present, you must know, I hope, and along with the blood capillaries in this villi, there is also this lymphatic channel, the lymph capillary is present, and this lymph capillary here, that is known as the lacteal. This lacteal is having very important role here. It is helping to collect the digested fats, especially the fats which is in the form of chylomicrons, that is collected through that lacteals. So that is giving the lymph a very special whitish appearance, which is known as chyle. This is yellowish white colored chyle now, which is present, present as a lymph fluid in these lacteals. This is known as chyle because of the presence of digested fat in the form of chylomicrons. So you must know. So here again to show you the structure of the lymph capillaries, that you know that the lymph capillaries are interwoven and these are present along and surrounding the blood capillaries, and then these are having the blind ended area, and there are certain valves present. These valves are anchored and supported by these anchoring filaments, you can see here, and then these valves are very helpful for the flow of the lymph into the lymph capillaries. So again here, if you have the histological slide and section from this area, and then you have the slide and you are going to see it under the microscope, then you will identify that the thickened wall is for the artery, and the larger caliber with very thin walls, these are the vein which are present here, and the lymphatic vessels, these are going to be having some irregular shape, but these are also surrounded by the squamous epithelium, simple squamous epithelium, but their wall is very thin. It is having very thin and delicate wall as compared to the blood vessels. From the lymph capillaries, the lymph is transported to the lymphatic collecting vessels. These vessels and these channels are very thin and delicate, although they are having all the three layers as these are present in the blood vessels, but they are very thin walled. These are two types. The superficial ones, which are also known as the cutaneous lymph vessels, these are going to travel along the superficial veins, and I hope you have done with the lymphatic drainage in the upper limb, and you have seen these superficial lymph channels as well for their drainage in the upper limb. Then there is the deep veins. These are the deep lymphatic vessels. These deep lymphatic vessels are mostly present in the trunk and in the abdomen. These are transporting the lymph from the thoracic region and in the abdomen, especially from the digestive tract. All the viscera of gastrointestinal tract, they are draining the lymph through these lymphatic vessels, which are also making up later on the intestinal ducts, and then they are going to transport it and travel along the deep blood vessels which are entertaining the digestive viscera. As compared to the arteries and blood vessels, the lymph channels are having very low pressures, and there are certain factors which are aiding and helping to the flow of the lymph I will discuss them later. The valves are present as well, definitely, to allow the unidirectional flow of the lymph, and because of the presence of the valves, the lymphatic vessels are having the beaded appearance. On their way, they are just having the bead like appearance. There are beads you can see along the course of these lymph vessels. And here you can see that this is showing you this colors. This blue one, they are the area which are going to be draining the this is right sided, the right upper limb, the right half side of the head and neck, and the right hemithorax. This whole portion is going to drain the lymph of these areas through that right lymphatic duct. This one is the right lymphatic duct that is present on the right side and draining up into that right venous angle, and this is draining the area of right half of the head and neck, right hemithorax, and right upper limb. And this is draining this lymph here into the venous circulation. Then rest whole of the body, the both lower limbs, the abdomen mostly, whole of the abdomen, which is draining these intestinal trunks and lumbar trunks into that dilated sac-like structure, that is cisterna chyli, that is the most dilated sac-like area present in the way of lymphatic system in the abdomen along the first lumbar vertebra. From here, whole of this lymph is continues up through this thoracic duct, which is the channel here in the thorax, and then this is having left inclination to get its opening into left venous angle here. So that is transporting the lymphatic of left half of the head and neck, left whole upper limb, left hemithorax, and then whole of the abdomen and both legs. These parts are going to draining their lymph through that thoracic duct into the. So as I have told you that these lymphatic channels are having very low pressures, and as well as the lymphatic system lacks a pumping apparatus. There is no pumping organ, just like heart, which is present in the blood vessels present along them and helping in their circulation. But the lymphatic system has no such pumping organ. So the flow of the lymph in the lymphatic vessel, that is going to be improved, and they are caused by the following factors, which are very important. You must remember, there is the contraction of the smooth muscles present in the wall of lymphatic channels. As same in the blood vessels, arteries and veins, the three layers are also present in the lymphatic channels. So the contraction of these smooth muscles in their wall is very important for the circulation of the lymph. Then is the pressure which is going to be caused by contraction of the surrounding skeletal muscles. Just like the venous return, the lymph vascular flow is also going to be improved by the contraction of skeletal muscles. The pulsation of adjacent arteries and surrounding arteries are also very helpful. They have important role, and the most important factor that is creating the suction force for the flow of lymph, that is negative intrathoracic pressure. So this negative pressure inside the thoracic cavity, that is very helpful as it creates a suction force for the rapid flow of the lymph towards venous circulation. So these are the important factors which are responsible and aiding the lymph flow in the. I will show you in this picture very clearly that this venous angle is actually the junction of internal jugular vein, which is coming from head and neck, draining the venous blood from head and neck, and then this subclavian vein on both sides, the internal jugular vein and the subclavian vein, their junction of these veins, this is known as the venous angle. So on the right side, the junction of the right internal jugular and right subclavian is making that right venous angle, where right lymphatic duct is going to open up and draining the lymph into this venous circulation, that is draining it into the subclavian vein actually, but at the junction where internal jugular vein is joining that subclavian vein. So this right lymphatic duct is draining which part? I have already told you, the right half of the head and neck, the right hemithorax and right upper limb. On the left side again, this internal jugular vein is joining this subclavian vein, and that junction is the left venous angle, where mostly and only the right, this one which is the thoracic duct, that is opening up into that left venous angle. And here it is also having these jugular trunks from head and neck and subclavian trunks from the upper limb. So these are going to join up here to the thoracic duct and opening up into the subclavian vein at this left venous angle. So I have told you that this is having, these lymphatic channels are having the beaded appearance. You can appreciate here this bead like appearance. Here again, these beads and which are going to present all the way and course of the lymphatic channels, these are due to the presence of valves in them. So the valves are giving the beaded appearance to the lymphatic channels. So now I hope you are clear with the lymphatic ducts as well. The lymphatic duct, that is actually in the thorax, the main duct is the thoracic duct, which is the continuation of the cisterna chyli of abdomen. Then it moves and ascends up, inclined towards the left side to drain the lymph into the left venous angle. And what areas that is draining, I hope you know. And on the right side, there is the right lymphatic duct which is present. So right lymphatic duct on the right side and thoracic duct on the left side, they are going to open up into that venous circulation. And what is venous angle? I hope you understand it very clearly here. So the lymphoid organs in the human body, these include the lymph nodes. These are the spleen, thymus and tonsils. These are the well-defined organs which are present, and they are helping up to destroy and remove whole of the pathogens and other waste foreign components which get their entry into the human body. Out of these, thymus, that is only present till the childhood life. Later on it regresses and disappear. So they are having very important function as a host defense, and they eliminate the abnormal, degenerated, the aged, which are dead and destroying components, and the cancerous cells as well, and the pathogens. These are going to be removed and eliminated through these lymphoid organs. So first of all, the lymph nodes, which are the bean-shaped organs, these are present along the lymphatic vessels, and their size is just up to the 1 inch, and they are composed of certain structures and masses which are the follicles. So because of the presence of these follicles, which are the primary and secondary follicles, they divide the lymph node into the outer cortex and inner medulla, and there are the clusters of deep and superficial lymph nodes in the body, which I have, some of them I have shown you in the previous slides, but You can also see here that these are the lymph nodes starting from here along with the head, in the head and neck. These are the cervical lymph nodes. They are the superficial and deep groups. Then axillary lymph nodes, you have already studied them. Then there are the lymph nodes present along the blood vessel. These are the aortic, para-aortic lymph nodes present there. Then these are for the lower limb. There is the inguinal lymph nodes. Again, they are having the superficial and deep groups. So these lymph nodes are present in the pathways of the lymphatic channels and lymphatic vessels, and they are going to found in the form of groups. So some groups are deep and superficial, and they must have the connections with that of the lymphatic channels. So here if you see its internal structure, that they just resemble the bean, and they are known as the bean shaped structure. This is the hilum of the lymph node through which this is the lymph channels entering up. And here these follicles which are present, these rounded structures, in histology you will study them in detail. So these are the follicles making up the cortex of the lymph node, and in the center there is the medulla, and they are having the B and T lymphocytes, and they are also having very important role in the immunity of the human body. So the lymph nodes are very specialized structures which are going to filter out the harmful microorganisms and foreign substances from the lymph. And all the lymph has to pass through several lymph nodes before it is going to enter up ultimately into the venous system. So through this, if I am giving you the example, the lymph of the lower limb is passing through popliteal lymph nodes, inguinal lymph nodes, entering into the cisterna chyli, and then through this thoracic duct it is draining up into the venous channel. So it has to pass through several and many lymph nodes before it enters up into the lymphatic circulation. And lymph nodes also add up the lymphocytes to the lymph, and then this is ultimately going to deliver that lymphocytes to the blood. Lymph nodes are also very important initiating the defense system or in the immune system, and cancer cells are usually spread by the lymphatics, and this is also one very important for the metastasis of the cancer cells. I will told you in the clinicals in next slides. So here these areas, these rounded areas are the follicles which are present in the cortex of the lymph node. This is a bit showing you the histological picture, and then the central one area, that is the medulla of the lymph nodes here. So how the lymph flowing into that lymph node? First of all, there is starting from here, there is the afferent lymphatics, and these afferent lymphatics are bringing the lymph, and then that is penetrating inside into the lymph node. Then afferent lymphatic channel is going to deliver the lymph to the subcapsular. Here these are the afferent one which is present along these capsule. These are afferent and delivering the lymph into then subcapsular lymphatic network, and then it is going to enter up ultimately into the outer cortex. And here this is having the B cells mostly in the germinal centers, and then this is going to enter up into the deep cortex where predominantly T cells are present, and then lymph continues into these medullary lymphatic sinuses, and through that lymph sinuses in the medulla, and in this region mostly B cells and plasma cells are present. So these are going to add up into the this lymph circulation into that lymph which entered into that lymph node, and if there is any pathogen or harmful substance, that is going to be destroyed through that lymphocytes, and then ultimately it is filtered and then entered into that efferent lymphatics, which are present at the hilum of the lymph node, and through that efferent vessels, the lymph which is collected from the medullary sinuses, then this is going towards the venous circulation. So this is the way of the lymph flow in the lymph node generally, you must remember. So the next important lymphoid organ is the spleen. I hope all of you are very well aware of the spleen and its function. That is one of the very important organ for the immune responses. So it is also going to remove the debris, foreign matters, bacteria, toxins, etc. And this is going to be present in the abdomen, more towards the left side, and it is protected by the rib cages. It is going to be present in the thoracic cage, surrounded by ribs, the lower ribs. But if there is any trauma and any fracture of the ribs, this can lead to the rupture and damage to the spleen, which can have very severe hemorrhages and bleeding in the abdominal wall. So this can very easily ruptured during trauma, you must know, but that is one of the very important lymphoid organ in the human body. So the another important lymphoid organ in the human body is thymus, which actually has the more important role in the childhood, because this is the mainly the maturation site of T lymphocytes, and this is going to involute and regress later, and going to become smaller in the adult life, and it is occupying this anterior mediastinum, which is the area just beneath the sternum in the thorax. So these are the tonsils, which are also very important lymphoid organs present here in the oral cavity. So these are the guard house, which are present here on both sides of the oral cavity, and they are going to help to trap the bacteria or any foreign harmful components which are going to enter into the oral cavity or through the food. If they get entry inside, then they are preventing them further to pass into the human body. So they are the first filter house here present and going to be present in the oral cavity. These are tonsils. So if there is any blockage to the lymph drainage, and for the flow of the lymph, if this is leading into the obstruction into the lymphatic channels, that is leading to the condition known as lymphedema. This lymphedema is leading to the swelling into the tissues and accumulation of the fluid in tissue spaces, and this can happen because of any tumor or the pressure of the tumor, the tumor of the surrounding organ, leading to the pressure upon the capillaries and the collecting vessels or duct system of the lymph, of the lymphatic system. So because of this can lead to the lymphedema. There can be the parasites, which can lead to one condition, which is the elephantiasis. This is because of the blockage of the lymph channels due to the parasitic worm. So that parasitic worms are going to block them, leading to the elephantiasis. This is the one picture, and you can see here that his foot is going to become so huge, just like the foot of the elephant. So it resembles that. Because of that resemblance, this is known as elephantiasis, and that is the condition because of parasitic infestation to the lymph channels. So in the lymphatic system, if that parasite is going to be, or worms, they are leading to that elephantiasis because of the blockage of that lymph channels. Again, this is the condition of so this one, as you have seen in the they are having very important role for the metastasis of the tumor or cancerous cells. So the knowledge of the direction of flow of the lymph, that is very important. And the location of the lymph nodes, they are going to help in the diagnosis of the spread of the cancer cells. So here for the mammary gland, as you know, this is going to drain mainly into the anterior group of the axillary lymph nodes. So the cancer cells for the breast cancers, they are mostly moving along with that lymph channels and going to involve these lymph nodes, and because of these tumor cells and their metastasis, these lymph nodes are going to become enlarged. So definitely you must remember that the direction of the flow of the lymph and the lymph nodes, their locations, they are very important for the diagnosis of the metastasis of the cancer cells of any organ. I am giving you the example of this mammary gland because you have already done with that and you are aware of it. So you know already you have done this in the metastasis of carcinoma of the mammary gland. In that topic you must remember that. So ultimately here I end up with the whole of chapter of the general aspects of circulatory system. We have already discussed with all the important components of the circulatory system in the human body. This chapter is very important, students. You must keep in mind that many times in the university, the questions that are the types or classification of the blood capillaries, the types of anastomosis, and the portal system and its various types, they are seen in the university questions. So please, you have to focus on this chapter for the university point of view. Thank you very much. If you have any query, please feel free to contact me.